Just the end of private practice PT as we know it. In a recent newsletter, the Dan Kennedy No BS marketing letter from April 2014, I want to read you a sentence or two that he wrote in here because I think there is a tremendous pressure on the private practice PT right now to survive. And if we don't identify exactly what that is, I think we're going to be in trouble. So the quote was, from small family farm owners to community bank owners to independent mortgage brokers to restaurant owners to doctors to you name it, the move is afoot to so burden the small operator that they merge with or sell to bigger concerns or surrender and close up shop altogether. The federal government is, in my opinion, engaged in a top-down deliberate scheme to force consolidation so that it has only handfuls of large entities to regulate and basically run as quasi-government agencies rather than dealing with hundreds of thousands of independent thinking free agents. And he goes on to explain one particular item there that has to do with Obamacare and the changes that we're experiencing right now in private practice with regards to Medicare and also our billing. For example, last week I sat in the Pennsylvania Physical Therapy Association continuing ed meeting on ICD-10, and I see a nightmare for us. You know, in the past 2 years, we've added another full-time billing person to basically do the very similar amount of billing that we've done in the past. And I think that in the very near future, we'll need another full-time person. So we're going to basically double our billing staff for the very similar amount of billing that's going out. So, you know, what are we looking at here? We're looking at a lot of pressure. One is, where's this pressure coming from? One is POPTS practices. So we have physician-owned practices who, you know, those physicians are not going to refer to us because they have a financial incentive elsewhere. Secondly, you have hospitals buying up referral systems or referral sources, and at least where I'm at here in central Pennsylvania, you know, I have 3 hospital systems that own 65% of the family physicians in my area. Pretty much have, they've regulated heavily that those physicians cannot refer to us, at least without getting in trouble or scolded or whatever that is. We'll talk about that here in a little bit more as well. And also we have regulations coming down from Medicare and the federal government that put increased paperwork on our plates. And you know, if you're a large corporate entity and you have 1,000 clinics, you know, you're basically training a handful of people for the ICD-10 changes. If you're me, I'm training, you know, 10% of my staff in a day-long training session at the PTA. It's much more intensive for me. So, you know, pretty quickly we're going to have to go one way or the other, and that's what this is about. The second concept I want to give to you is in Robert Kiyosaki. Robert Kiyosaki wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad. He talks about this one concept of that he was a Vietnam helicopter pilot, and the very first thing that they train them on is that when you're flying, because in Vietnam and war, the enemy is obviously aiming to take out the pilot, because if there's 6 guys or a dozen guys in a helicopter and you take out the helicopter pilot, you just knocked out 12 guys of the enemy. So the first thing that they talk about that he was trained to do is that when the helicopter is hit, your knee-jerk reaction or the reflex is to pull back. That stops the helicopter, and the helicopter, rather than picking up speed, falls to a certain death, killing everybody else in the helicopter. The only way to survive is, oddly enough, when you're hit and one of the engines is hit or the helicopter is hit, the only thing to do is tilt the nose forward, pick up speed, and then come to a safe landing that way. So it's the opposite of our intuition. It's the opposite of our reflexes, and it's the same exact thing that we're doing here. You know, we can go home and tell our spouses or, you know, complain to our friends about all the changes that are happening within private practice PT and how it's impossible to survive and just seal up our own coffin, or we can point the nose forward and charge ahead and figure out how we're going to pop out on the other end of this. Third thing that I want to share with you is The Law of Success, and this is a really thick book by Napoleon Hill. Almost nobody ever quotes this because it's 600 pages long. There's a much more popular Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, that everybody quotes from. But in that example, in both books, he gives an example on, or many examples on failure. And it's basically when times are tight, there is always a silver lining, to the cloud that the right people or a few people look for. But what happens is when everybody feels defeated, if we all feel defeated as private practice owners and nobody steps up to the plate, then we're in trouble. What we're looking for is a few people who see the light, who are willing to tilt the nose forward in the helicopter, pick up speed, grow their practices, expand, and realize that this is a great opportunity right now for you. Warren Buffett very simply says, buy low, sell high. When there was a recession a few years ago, or whatever they're calling it now, when stocks plunged down to that, what was the Dow at, like $5,000 or $7,000, and everybody was selling like crazy, he was buying. He was doing the opposite. It's the same exact thing right now. When I'm talking with private practice owners all over the country, there's a lot of stress from those three things that I talked about before: POPTS practices, hospitals, and then insurance regulations or federal government regulations via Medicare. So we're really, what I'm looking for is a few people that are willing to charge forward and do exactly what we're doing here at my physical therapy practice. The fourth thing that I want to talk about is, our commitment at Breakthrough PT Marketing that Carl and I have, and the future staff that we hire, and also my personal commitment to you, and that is that I want to provide you with, hopefully you are the right private practice owner. So my personal commitment is to the right private practice owner to provide you with no-nonsense marketing advice from in the trenches of private practice PT. And what do I mean by in the trenches? Well, from where I'm sitting here right now, this is what my environment looks like. I have the largest PT provider in the country. Their headquarters is less than 13 miles from where I'm sitting and recording this right now. And they have 20, 25, 30 clinics sprinkled all throughout the area. Another large corporate physical therapy entity is less than 6 miles away, and they have over 100 clinics all over the Atlantic coast. So that's the large corporate entities that I'm up against. Secondly, as I mentioned before, we have 3 hospital systems in our area that own 65% of all family physicians in our area. That's a really big chunk, and many of those physicians who come here themselves for PT cannot refer to us because they're scolded by the system. So 5 years ago, we hit a high of, I believe it was 151 or 153 referrals in a month from physicians, and in August of this past year, we hit a number of 38. But yet, as I'm sitting here right now, so this is May 1, April 30th, yesterday, April was our number 1 income generating month ever, our most profitable month ever. So in spite of losing physician referrals, we're tilting the nose forward and charging ahead, and literally in 2013 we doubled our profit over any other year that we've had. So what else am I up against? I have the same ICD-10 changes that you have, but I'm in a highly competitive area, and we also have, as another issue, is our area is filled with chiropractors, private practice chiropractors, and they're everywhere. We have very few private practice PTs who are left in our area. So that's what we're up against. And it's one reason why you might want to consider listening to what I'm saying and what we're doing. I've developed 27 different marketing products that I use every day in the trenches. I'm a soldier with my feet on the ground, that I use every day in our business to help us succeed and prosper and grow, and I want to share those with the right physical therapist. So what am I looking for in the right physical therapist? Well, one, I'm looking for somebody who is they're either 100% owner of their clinic, or they're in a group that is 100% owned by PTs, not affiliated with a physician, not affiliated with the hospital system. The second thing that I'm looking for is therapists that provide evidence-based practice PT. So, that's doing a HVLAT, that's doing grade 4, grade 5 mobilizations, where needed, but therapists that treat manually are much easier to promote within the community, and those that do exercise. It is really tough for me to give you material that says that you're the best ultrasound technician in the area, or you put the decompression belt on the patient better than anybody else in the area. I can help a good manual therapist. I can help those using evidence-based practice. 3, you have a big vision. So if you are the right PT, and you want to get the most out of our materials, you have a big vision and you have it written down. So really quick litmus test for me is when I'm talking with somebody and they have a goal to hit $2 million in income in a year. That's a really good goal for 95% of PT. For the larger PT companies with 20 clinics or more, that are very aggressive and growing, everyone that I've met so far, they have a very specific goal about what they want to do in the next 12 months, the next 3 years, the next 5 years. They have a long-term vision. So I look for that as well, and that it's very explicitly written out. The more specific it is, the more likely it is that it'll come to fruition within the time they want it to. 4, you have a strong study ethic and you have a strong work ethic and can demonstrate this. The very first thing that I'm going to tell you to do, if you haven't done it already, is go to breakthroughptmarketing.com. I have a free newsletter course on there. It is the original newsletter idea that I've been doing for the last 9 years that's grown my practice to this point. And along those lines, I have more advanced material, but the very first thing that I want you to do is make it through that. Can you make it through that 30, 45-minute course and apply that information? That's what I'm looking for. And 5, you're willing to handle and take responsibility for the management of what happens in your practice. One thing that can happen is once you start growing, once you tilt the nose forward a little bit, is you can have staff say, whoa, you're supposed to pull back. We're all going up in blazes together. You're to pull back. You're going forward. You're going to upset the apple cart a little bit. You're going to throw grenades or whatever analogy that you want to use, and you need to be willing to take responsibility for that. So that is what I'm looking for, and as I said, go to breakthroughptmarketing.com, do that free course. We do have more advanced material as well, but if you're applying that, then we can at a later point do a diagnostic phone call if that's something that you're looking for, and Carl and I and Breakthrough PT Marketing will have an offer for you, but you need to do the course. Let us know that you made it the whole way through. And the other thing is, as it's pretty timely, on May 6th, for anybody who's a Breakthrough PT Marketing customer, we're going to do the POPTS Killer webinar for the first time. So email me if you have any questions on that. It's chad@breakthroughptmarketing.com, and I can get you details on how you can attend that hour-long webinar. And what you're going to learn from that is the 3 tools that I use. Oddly enough, in my practice, I have 2 large orthopedic clinics in our area that have over 30 orthopedic specialists between them. They both own their own PT clinics or their own managed PT clinics, and so you wouldn't expect that we have any referrals, but yet year after year there are top 2 referring physician groups, and I'm going to share with you exactly how we do that and the 3-pronged approach that we take to make that happen. So as always, you can fax me 717-901-9488 with any questions, or email me chad@breakthroughptmarketing.com. See you tomorrow.